You're looking for a welding machine that won't sit on a shelf gathering dust, that you can actually use on a Saturday project without spending a day reading the manual, and that feels like a solid investment rather than just another gadget with a glossy spec sheet. It's easy to feel stuck between a cheap entry-level unit that will quit on you halfway through a weld and a high-end industrial rig that costs more than a new car. If you've ever wondered whether the extra features are worth the price tag, you're not alone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started digging into the MIG welder market, the first thing I noticed was how many manufacturers try to impress you with numbers, amps, volts, duty cycles without explaining what those figures actually mean when you're trying to join two pieces of metal in a garage. The biggest hesitation I saw in forums and comment sections was the fear of buying a machine that either won't start on a 120-volt household circuit or that will require you to buy a separate spool gun and a bunch of adapters just to weld aluminum. That anxiety is real because a bad purchase can cost you not only money but also weeks of lost time as you troubleshoot. The Millermatic 211 Pro tries to bridge that gap. It's positioned as a professional-grade MIG that still fits on a workbench, and it ships with a full set of running gear and a cylinder rack so you're not left scrambling for accessories. What makes it different from a plain vanilla welder is the combination of Miller's Dyna-Pulse technology, the BeadVision Auto-Adjust system, and the ability to switch between 120V and 230V on the fly. Those aren't just buzzwords, they translate into practical outcomes that most hobbyists and small shop owners care about. If you're someone who does occasional builds, think custom garden furniture, a few steel brackets for a shed, or repairing a rusted pipe, you'll find the 211 Pro a comfortable sweet spot. The Auto-Set feature reads the wire diameter, gas flow, and material thickness, then suggests the optimal voltage and wire feed speed. In my test, I tossed a 1/8-inch mild steel plate into the weld pool with a 0.030-inch wire, and the machine dialed in a stable arc on the first pass. No need to pull out a chart or guess the numbers. That saves a lot of frustration for people who don't want to spend evenings memorizing welding curves. On the other hand, if you're a full-time fabricator who runs 24-hour shifts, or if you need to weld thick structural steel on a daily basis, the 211 Pro might feel a little light. Its duty cycle at 200 amps on 230V is respectable for a benchtop unit, but it won't match a dedicated shop floor welder that can sit on for hours without a cooldown break. In that scenario, you'd probably be better off looking at a larger inverter or a dedicated industrial MIG that can handle continuous high-amp work. One of the most tangible strengths of this machine is the built-in program memory. You can store up to 3 custom settings, which is handy if you routinely switch between thin sheet metal and thicker plate. I set one memory slot for 0.025-inch wire on 18-gauge steel, another for 0.035-inch wire on a 1/4-inch CH plate, and a third for flux core welding when I'm outside and don't want to lug a gas cylinder. The machine recalls the exact parameters with a single button press, so you spend less time fiddling and more time welding. The Dyna-Pulse waveform also makes a noticeable difference when you're welding aluminum with a spool gun. Aluminum is notorious for spitting and creating a rough bead, but the pulsed current smooths the arc and reduces spatter. In a quick test on a 6061 T6 rod, the bead looked clean enough that I didn't have to grind it down afterward, something I usually have to do with a conventional MIG. If you plan to dabble in automotive bodywork or hobbyist bike frames, that capability alone can save you a lot of post-weld cleanup. Real-world use cases highlight where the machine shines and where it shows its limits. I used the 211 Pro to weld a set of stainless steel brackets for a raised garden bed. The stainless feed was a bit finicky, but the Auto-Set quickly adjusted the voltage, and the resulting welds held up under a load test without any cracking. A friend who runs a small metal art studio took the same unit to his studio, swapped to a spool gun, and completed a 12-inch aluminum sculpture panel in under an hour. He praised the compact footprint, everything fits on a standard workbench, and the included cylinder rack keeps the gas bottle stable without taking up floor space. Where the machine trips up is mainly in its weight and power requirements. At roughly 70 pounds, you'll need a helper to move it around, and the dual voltage switch, while convenient, means you have to have a 230V outlet available if you want to push past 180 amps. Many suburban homes only have 120V circuits in the garage, so you either have to install a dedicated